Hello everyone, welcome to Canteen Cup. My name is Scott, and today I want to take the time and talk about idioms, axioms, and some general philosophies. And so what are idioms and axioms? We know what philosophies are. They're typically little sayings or little jingles that are used to help jog your memory. And I use them quite a bit. I kind of assign them to different aspects and they help me remember things. And today, let's turn around this way. Maybe that's a little bit better. The sun is a little bright. But I wanted to talk about some of the ones I use, especially in the, prepping community. And I do want to stop for a minute. I got a new flower growing out here that only one, which I think is interesting. But here it is. It's called a Spanish broom, as in you sweep the floor with a broom. So it's Spanish broom. It's only one. I don't know where it came from. Probably some bird dropped it. But anyhow, I wanted to take a couple minutes. I'm going to shoot a couple, videos today, maybe a little bit shorter. And I'm walking over here to see how my one watermelon plant is doing. And it's about the end of the season. I don't think we'll get any fruit from it, but it's just kind of interesting that it started to grow all by itself out here, and it's still growing. Let me show you a picture of it. And so that's our floral lesson for the day. Everything is starting to die. The grass you have seen out there is winter rye, and this is the time of year you plant it. And so I'm trying to build up the organic material on my property. It's not going as fast as I thought it was. Okay, idioms, axioms, and general philosophies. One of my favorites, or one that I use a lot, comes from the movie Popeye, and that's the movie that had Robin Williams in it, where most of the music was written by Harry Nilsson. Prolific writer up until his death, but writes a lot of good songs. Anyhow, one of his songs is "Everything is Food," and in the prepper world, in the prepper community, that should be your main axiom. Everything is food. When you don't know what to do, you don't know where to go, buy more food. And so when we talk about different things, especially when we get ate up with the consumerism involved in prepping, always remember that everything is food. So that's one of my axioms. Another axiom that I use is stay until it's time to go. And what I mean by that is we spend a lot of time in the prepper communities talking about bugging out, talking about leaving, going somewhere else. And some of the realities of that is, in most cases, not only are you not going to go anywhere, but you don't have to go anywhere. And my point is, you've spent lots of money, invested lots of time building up all your stores and resources at your home where you're living now, and then you're talking about leaving it all and going someplace else. So my axiom is stay until it's time to go. And I have to tell myself that because sometimes I kind of get wrapped up into that stuff, but stay until it's time to go. In other words, your main plan should be to stay where you are, unless you're in like an urban area. Then And really I'm talking about people that are already in a good spot or in a good enough spot where they can stay. If you're in urban areas, you know, um, you may be in trouble. But in general, for those of us that are pretty much where we plan to be, where we want to be, we should be planning on staying until it's time to go. Now, what do I mean until it's time to go? On the other hand of this, you know, we should not have the attitude that we would never leave. Because there may come a time when you have to leave, and you should be prepared to do that. However, 90% of your time and resources should be spent on staying, and 10% should be on going. Because more than likely, and I mean, if you look over the history of the United States over the past 50, 60, even 100 years, you know, how many people had to mass migrate? Probably the last time something like that kind of happened is in the Dust Bowl years, around the time of the Depression. People had to migrate. But in general, in today's world, more than likely you're going to stay where you are, and nothing's going to happen to make you move. And that doesn't mean it won't. All I'm saying is that more than likely you're going to stay where you are through most disasters. Now, those of you that live on the Gulf Coast and in Florida and stuff, okay, you've got your own problems down there, but again, you chose to do that. And then maybe your plan, instead of being 90-10, might be 50-50. I don't know. I mean, I've deployed as an emergency services volunteer to several hurricanes, and after doing that 4 or 5 times, I don't want to live down there. You know, I told my wife that we should move down there and buy a trailer house, and every time a hurricane comes, we pack up all our valuables, head up to one of our kids' house, which is like up here in Georgia, wait for the hurricane to pass, and then we drive back down, and if our trailer's gone, well, we just get ourselves a new one. But you know, you have to evaluate your situation, and if you're in one of those hurricane prone areas, do you really need to stay there? So again, that's personal stuff, but in general, talking to people that are pretty much where they feel like they need to be, you should be devoting about 90% of your time, resources, and money into staying, and devote about 10% or less into going. You know, bug out bags, EDC bags, and we'll talk about that too. But that's my general philosophy on that. So stay until it's time to go. It just doesn't make sense to have, you know, years worth of food stacked up in your house and say, "Oh, I'm leaving, and I'm gonna have 3 MREs in my backpack." Away I go. And so that's one of my axioms. Philosophies. I think I just kind of gave you one, and that is you shouldn't be planning to leave. You should really be planning on staying with the option of leaving. That being said, we're all a bunch of gear hogs and gearaholics, and we all collect and amass quite a bit of stuff. And so my next philosophy is you kind of assume, you know, your role in the Army. When you go in the Army, when you get to your duty station, which is after basic training and your advanced individual training, I used to call it AIT, I think they still do, and you get to your duty station, they issue what's called TA-50, which is your individual equipment that's assigned to you from your parent company, battalion / division, however that may work out for you. And it's a set of gears. I mean, you get like, you know, 1 set of LBE, you get 1 backpack, you get 1 or 2 canteens, you get 1 or 2 magazine carriers, you get, you know, 1 IFAK, 1 sleeping bag, 1 sleeping pad, etc., etc. And that's what you use. If you go from a long mission to a short mission, then you take stuff out of your pack. If you go from a short mission to a long mission, you put stuff in your pack. but you're using the same gear. And I agree with that philosophy, because what I have seen happen over and over and over again is that people will build themselves, and they'll have their EDC, of course, and some of that's kind of a little out there for me. I mean, I'm pretty much wearing my EDC right now, which for me composes of a wallet, a pen, a lighter, my car keys, a knife, a pistol, and then I have a flashlight and dog tags. And that's pretty much my EDC. For those that have a get home bag, again, that's stuff to help you get home, but may not be the same, it may not be the same level as a bug out bag. And what I say to you is that when you create your bug out bag, you should be using stuff from your get home bag. And if you have to make that transition from get home to bug out, you're taking stuff out of one pack and putting it in another pack. In other words, you're using the same gear and putting it into another bag. Or if you are coming off of a bug out for training or whatever, then you go back to your get home bag and you take stuff out of that big bag and put it in your little bag. The main thing is that you're handling it and you're inspecting it. I've seen too many times, and I've seen people do this in front of people, as an exercise, like at a meetup, where they start they're taking apart their bug out bag to show everybody what they got to play show and tell, and half their stuff is broken or deteriorated or doesn't work. And so where does that leave you? Food that's like 10 years old and you can't eat. So take care of your stuff. Go into it, look at it. Typically for me, the stuff in my bug out bag is stuff that I don't have to inspect as often. So take care of your gear. And then my last piece of philosophy is that no prepper community, no prepper group should be using state military run tactics. If you are, taken to that sort for security or whatever, you should not be using state run tactics. In other words, as a prepper community, as a prepper group, you should not really be thinking about using the same tactics as an infantryman uses, because you are not equipped for that, number one. You're probably not in number shape, number two. And number three, you don't have the support. And I'll give one example. If an infantryman gets shot, gets wounded during a firefight, he is probably 1 hour away from a hospital. They'll pull him offline, they'll patch him up, they'll throw him on a helicopter, and then he'll be medevaced to a field hospital where he can get better care, and then from there they may medevac him again to a hospital like the ones they have in Germany or whatever. As a prepper in a prepper community, you don't have those options. And so what you have to consider as a prepper is that every wound, and in this case we'll just use gunshot wounds, every gunshot wound is potentially lethal. And so you want to avoid, getting shot. And, another one of my axioms is from the movie Karate Kid, and it's a paraphrase from Mr. Miyagi. But Mr. Miyagi said, the best defense, no be there. And I mean that. You should be concentrating on how to stay away from firefights, how to move away from firefights. And if we take this back, to should I stay or should I go? If enemy troops are coming down your driveway, it's time to go. Your house is not that important. Your life is. So consider that. And your tactics should match. And if you really want to look at this, today's military practices second and third generation warfare, and where you should be is in fourth generation warfare. And we'll say as the aggressor, not as the defender being the state-run military, the aggressor being somebody like a prepper community. And you should be thinking more along those lines of not getting shot at or not getting shot or no be there. All right, so now I'm going to leave you with a jingle. And it's one my mother taught me, and I've carried it for, probably 50 years now. And it comes from a coffee company or an old coffee shop. And it goes like this. As you ramble on through life, brother, whatever be your goal, keep your eye upon the donut and not upon the hole. So when you evaluate your situation, when you evaluate your equipment, when you evaluate whatever, look at the donut. In other words, look at the meat of the problem, not the space in between. That's all I got for y'all. Everybody stay safe and stay secure, and we'll see you.